So welcome to another war game review from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And today is the first release of our... we don't have a name for this.
No, I think we're calling it our Shelf of Shame Purge. That's what we should call it.
Rolls off the tongue.
Shelf of Shame Purge. That sounds amazing.
We got to come up with a more punchy, catchier name.
Forever Purge!
But
Yeah,
basically, beginning of the year, you had the idea...
We selected 12 games from our Shelf of Shame.
Yes.
Both of us.
Yes.
You had 7, I think I had 5 off my shelves. And we're going to play one of those every month.
And generally speaking, we're trying to line those up as best you can.
Historically.
Yeah. So we played today Ardennes 44.
In January, so it's a month late.
It's a winter game.
But that's okay. It's a wintry game. Now, we do have a time for trumpets scheduled for December.
Yes.
That's a long way away.
But we picked 12 games, one a month, and
Yep.
we have scheduled them.
Yes.
So that it is significantly more likely that this will happen and not fall apart like some of our other endeavors that happen.
Oh, it's going to fall apart.
Yes.
You know it's going to.
But
because this game, I'm going to leave it set up and we're going to freaking play this. We're going to keep going.
But it's less likely that it'll fall apart because we've planned it.
Sure.
Yeah. Whereas when we don't make any plans, it's definitely not going to happen.
Okay. Or we start, let's buy all the Bulge games now so that we just continue this.
Yeah, well.
And then we'll change this. Anyway, I get off topic.
We already own them all. Just leave them.
We own a ton. Deadly Woods is one, and the Bitter Woods I definitely want to play. We have not played those yet.
I've also got SES Bastogne as well.
Bastogne. Nuts. Bastogne ain't doing too good right now.
No. So,
Not doing well at all.
Ardennes 44 from GMT Games. Good gracious. This game was originally released, I believe, in like 2003.
Something. Yeah. 20 years ago.
And this particular one is the third
printing. That was in 2018.
Yes.
Because I remember we got it, because we're like, we're getting that. And we got it, and I think we got Normandy 44 as well.
Yes, because
they kind of came out
I
at the
had
same
an
time.
old Normandy 44, which
We got a new
someone
one.
had clipped with a chainsaw, so I sold that one, kept a new one.
Nice.
Also, can you pass me the rule book, I think?
Yes.
Because after that discussion we had earlier, the rule book has, this is also a 3rd edition, it has the 3rd edition changes in it as well. It's not just a 3rd printing, even though it does not say that on the rules.
They highlight the 3rd edition rules changes. Changes.
It's just got a quick list of, like, so if you played an earlier edition, here's the new one, here's the updates.
Yeah.
So,
this game was great.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be honest, we had a blast.
This is part of the 40X Simonich series, or the Zokbon series. If you've ever played any of those, this is kind of like one of those standout titles in that series. I think when people think of that series, most often they think of Normandy 44 and Ardennes 44.
Yeah, I think those are the two that come to mind.
Holland 44 as well, but that's a newer one.
I'm gonna be frank about it, right? Holland 44 is one of my favorites of all time.
Yes.
And then I really enjoyed North Africa 41 a month ago.
Even it was very different though.
Really enjoyed that game though, and I really love Salerno. I love Salerno because it was short.
Yeah, Salerno was really easy to get into.
Yep, I felt like you could play that in a 5 to 6 hour block.
This is not a short game.
We played 6 hours and got through three full turns.
Yeah, it's just, you have a lot of pieces on the board.
Absolutely.
A significant number than something like Holland 44. In my brain, that's higher.
Although Holland 44 has a lot of pieces, a lot of counters too. But this has more.
I feel like it's like, well, and it's like, here's my block of 30 core, and then it's like, here's these guys, they're not doing anything. Here's these guys.
It's all over. Yeah.
Whereas this one, it's just like, there's a lot, and
well, and I also think
a lot to consider.
Geographically, there's like 3 different areas, right? Plus a pocket here in Bastogne. So you got to kind of move around and think about it.
Yeah. But this is not a game for the faint of heart from that standpoint. Once you're seasoned with it, you can play through it a bit quicker, but you're playing that campaign game. I think the short campaign, or the normal campaign, is 22 turns. There's an extended campaign if you want another
30 turns.
Week on the end of it, but the 22 turns, and each turn was about an hour. Or 2 hours for us.
2 hours.
But I think you could get that down to probably an hour.
The reality is, I think for us, that it's just getting the steps down. I think all wargamers are like
Yeah.
that. Once you get that sequence of play down and you understand, it definitely picks up. That last turn number 15, right?
Yeah.
I felt like we blew
Much
through
quicker.
that one.
But at the same time, there's only so fast you can go because you will resolve a lot of combats in this game.
Yeah,
So, like, you can't... There's only so much you can speed it up with quick play.
Well, and there's a lot of those decisions as well. Do I use my artillery defensively?
Yeah.
And you got to consider that
The hem
each
and the
attack
haw, yeah.
that's going on. I also had air assets because it's now sunny. Yeah, that adds a lot of thinking, okay, I can get that down to 2-to-1. Then you kind of got to look at the CRT and make that decision.
Well, and it's, you know, it goes from 1 minute to calculate the odds to you add an extra minute for the hemming and hawing and the changing of the columns.
And the goading and the
And
calling
then you
each other a
multiply
chicken.
that by 15,
Yeah,
and all of a sudden
you're an hour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just happens. It's just it's not a short game, right?
But like many of those 40X games, I enjoy every minute of it.
Yes.
There were some points at the beginning of this game where we were trying to learn the system and it was like, what in the hell? Like, I had just some of the worst,
Just very
crappy units.
yeah.
And it's just like, and it's always like that. The Germans with the Battle of the Bulge, they're good until they start running out of gas and they start running out of men. And we're starting to get to that point, right? So it's starting to shift.
But it's
Fun game, though.
very, very good. It's exactly what I expected it to be. And what I mean by that is that we've played 40X games before. This one is very highly regarded, so I had very high hopes for it and expected it to be a way, and it is.
It lives up to that expectation. Yeah. I would say this, and you mentioned the rule changes that are called out in the rule book. There's a lot of interesting things. Now, we haven't played Normandy 44, so I say that
Yes, that's
with
big
the
one.
or France 40, with the caveat that there were some things here that we were not familiar with from the system, like the firefight.
The firefight table was
Very
neat.
cool.
There's obviously has like the bulge, blowing of bridges, rebuilding bridges, all that kind of stuff.
I felt like that was in Holland 44, so I felt fairly comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But that firefight table was very, very different. The defensive artillery, the rolling and determining, particularly for the Allies, is it 1 or 2 shifts, or is it the time on target, the TOT result,
Yeah,
where it cancels that attack.
The
and
way
does an
that the
attack
defensive artilleries and the defensive air power work, that was something that was very cool and quite different as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of games will, I think about SES, right? You pop those and you're rolling to do disruptions and stuff. And this one, you're rolling to get shifts on a column, but it is, for defensive fire, it's a roll. For offensive artillery, it's not a roll.
It's automatic.
I think that's really neat and adds just a bit of variability that you can never quite predict.
Yeah.
And so,
Well,
it's
it makes in my opinion, a very significant choice at that moment, and it really creates some interesting. I mean, we literally had to angst over that.
yeah. And
Do I do it knowing I'm not going to get it automatically, and I can save it over for an attack where I will get it? But then I said, well, I'm not making many attacks over here, so I definitely want to use it. I really liked that. So that was new. What else was new? There were a couple of other things. Well, obviously the surrender part was kind of unique.
I don't think that's in the other ones that we've played. So in this one, the way when you isolate units, instead of like in Holland 44, they get isolated. You can supply them for a couple turns, and then like you start to take attrition.
That's bothering me.
But in this one, you have little surrender counters, and you roll on this surrender table, and if you roll well, your surrender value doesn't go up, and if you roll poorly, it does.
Well, and it can also, actually, for the Allies,
it can get reduced.
if it can get to a 0, which basically in turn 15 on, they get a -2 modifier. So if they roll a 2 and it gets to a 0, that surrender number is going to go backwards.
Yeah, as they get supplies.
As they get airdrop, it says. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That was fun because, and this was something we talked about, the time scale and the geographical scale of this game is very different from a lot of the other 40X games.
Yeah.
So something like North Africa is huge.
Yep.
And in, I think about Stalingrad 42. Massive.
Massive, yeah.
And you're playing the turns on a scale that is so much longer than this, where each turn in this game is literally half a day. It's 12 hours.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not even 12 hours because there's little night turn bits.
Right.
So it's really like, it's closer to 8 hours. And so
the night allows, isn't it, strategic movement?
Infiltration
movement, that's what I meant.
And so you know, the traditional isolation and attrition, that's not going to happen in 8 hours.
Yeah.
It's really not. But you might roll to, your morale's breaking over that 8 hours.
Yeah.
You're closer to surrender. And it's just that little nuance bakes in. And
the time scale, I think, is the most significant difference from the others. And I frankly liked it. I thought that was pretty well done. But there is some new tricks here. There's some new elements, but it feels very familiar. I mean, we've played 5 or 6 of these now and really enjoy them. And this one felt very familiar, particularly with the Zoc bonds and the different supply rules. That's all the same. Desperate Defense is this one, that firefight thing, though, was very unique.
Yeah, there was some CRT results that would put you through to this firefight table that you could optionally roll on, and you might force a result, but also it's kind of a 50-50.
Yeah.
It might be bad.
To me, it's very similar to Determined Defense, where you're trying to not retreat from a hex.
Yeah, it's almost
this one
a determined attack.
It's a determined attack. You're trying to force them to retreat. It's very interesting. My favorite result on that was the Engage Plus. Very unique.
Yeah,
you engage them where they can't move away from you, and then the next time you attack that very stack with that stack that engaged them, the Engage Plus result, you got a +1 column shift.
Yeah, you get a little advantage mark.
That was pretty unique, and that was a high roll too, and I thought, oh boy, sandwiched in between Attacker 1 DR2 and Attacker 1 Engage. So, very unique. The tank rules in this one felt not different, but they confused me a little bit.
They're very specific, and
Yep.
and you have to pay attention to them.
You do.
Because there's tanks, and then there's assault guns and tank destroyers.
Yep.
If you can get all sorts of things with tanks, great, and you're just comparing tank values, which are grey. But if you're attacking with a tank destroyer, their little value is red, and when you attack with them, it's -1 because they're crappy in attack.
They're not good at attack, but
if you attack against them, that's +1 in defense. So, but only if they're stacked with an infantry.
Yep.
Do you get a shift? But you can deny a tank their shift if you have.
It's just a lot. And actually, it's summarized very well, I thought, here on the player aid. I actually read that a couple of times, but I still...
You have to keep...
Yeah, you just have to focus on
remembering it and making sure you do it right.
And that's a big part of the game, because you need to make sure you get the right type of tank in the right situation. Fortunately, the Allies, I feel like, have a ton of those tank destroyers. Like, I'm moving them up just trying to defend.
Yeah.
But then I kind of miss. I'm like, oh, crap, I really need an extra shift, but I don't have any offensive tanks. I have some, but not a lot.
But I think I also felt there's a lot of tanks in this game, right?
There are.
And I felt the differences in a lot of the tanks. Mm-hmm. Like, you had some little Stuarts kicking around, and it was like, it was an afterthought, right? Because they're only a little 2 value.
Yeah.
It's like, unless they're attacking someone who doesn't have any tanks, which is almost
But they're free stacking,
yeah.
right? So you can stack 2 of those free stacking units. They may only be 2 or 3, but you put those with a couple of beefy infantry, all of a sudden you got a nice little stack.
And that's a very good defensive stack.
Yes.
But I'm then, things like picking out my Tigers and my King Tigers and my Panthers, and I'm like, okay, these specific ones... These are the tips of the spearhead, and like those guys are doing the attacks. I think I had a couple of them up here.
Well, they just got up there. Yep, they just got up there.
It was one. There was the 9th SS guys. I remember they're kicking around somewhere. I don't remember what I did.
I thought they were down here, but maybe they're not.
Yeah, it was these guys.
Yeah, those guys are scary as hell.
Those are wicked. Yeah, I got that hilarious engaged result or whatever it was.
Well,
done.
I was grateful for that.
Yeah.
But
oh no, you rolled the time on target artillery. That's
yes,
what it was.
and canceled the attack.
Canceled the attack. Like,
and that was another thing I was doing. I was starting to use those artillery. I was like, nope, these are going to just be defensive.
Just hoping for the ones.
Because I'm just trying to hold that line. And that's another thing about the game. Strategically, right, the strategic situation, here on this far right, over by Veers, and I'm saying them wrong, I get it. And I can't, Liege, is that?
Yeah, that's Liège, and that's,
Liège.
is it Verviers?
Okay, great, thank you.
I don't know if that's true.
Veers is what I'm going to say.
Verviers?
Yeah, but I think every Ardennes game we play, isn't that always the area where historically they kind of cracked through there a little bit, and it's dicey.
It's very sticky, and it's like lots of reinforcements have to be committed there on both sides, and it's like a huge gamble. Because if one side breaks it, it's done.
And you've actually broken me, but I was grateful that I was able to fall back to some woods. And now I've got some tanks coming down, but I'm still pretty scared down there.
But it's one of those things where it's very hard to exploit stuff in this game because the terrain is very unforgiving and the supply rules are very tight in certain areas as well.
Well, and that's another hallmark, I think, of Bulge games is you've got to use the roads and stick to the roads. And if you look at the board...
You really don't have an option in this one.
Well, no, you don't. You can't move a tank into a woods. You just can't.
Yeah, the vehicles just
Which is great.
One of the other things that I thought was interesting is that outside of regular supply stuff, the Germans have to roll on this like no supply table at the beginning of their turn.
Gas shortage
There's
table.
2 of them, and I rolled a 5 every single turn on table 1, and that really hurt me.
Yeah,
because if I could have moved both of the Lehrpanzer and the second Panzers.
Yep, second Panzer and Panzer Lehr.
I was only able to move one of those basically. For each turn. If I'd have moved both of those every turn,
this all would have
it
would have been way back here, whereas right now we're stuck around what is that? I can't Rochefort?
Yes, Rochefort. And so effectively the game might be over for me.
We talked about
with regards to me being able to go and get off the board or
and win
get enough victory conditions. That doesn't mean I'm not having fun doing the rest of the stuff.
Oh no, there's no doubt. But and actually, to be honest, if you look at the board, you've got 2 of the victory hexes, right? 2 of these. You really only need, is it 4 more?
I need 4 more total on the map, or 4 along that river.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, it's.
But I think these 2 are in trouble, and I think those could definitely be had depending on what happens.
Yeah,
but now my 30 core, not 30 core. What are these guys?
I can't tell. It's upside down.
British Army and tanks rolled in, and they're like kind of bolstering that area. They're not going anywhere. This is a stupid engineer that's just a waste of space. Yeah, that's a huge
Guards Armor Division. Yeah,
beefy.
But like it's fascinating how just the fuel shortage tables can make a huge impact in your game.
Well, and I would also say that the second die result. How many times did you roll any units west of the? I'm not saying that.
I only rolled 1 shortage the very first turn. Everything else was either it was effectively the no shortage because I didn't have anyone further enough.
It was just interesting how that, because some of these would have been really bad.
Yep.
Some of these bottom ones, that's like your main forces, and that would have been ugly. But I had a blast with it. I always enjoy these 40X games. This is a classic for a reason.
Yes,
it's
and
great.
We're going to leave this set up and kind of plink around with it over the course of the next few weeks as well.
It's huge.
Yeah, it is.
So many counters. And how many reinforcements do I have coming in there? I had like 5 wells.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more wells of reinforcements. Some of those might be crushed up. Oh, that's one thing that I would say. So I have the mounted maps. We did not use them.
Yeah, we didn't.
We're a paper map.
I like paper maps. I do.
I like paper maps for multi-map games.
Yeah. Because those don't lay that flat all the time.
Yeah, especially when it's like hexes and the borders crease and they don't lay flat. It's a bit of a nightmare. But if you have the paper maps, everything fits in the box with just 2 counter trays, and it fits perfectly. Love that. But someone will ask, I organize this the same way that I do Empire of the Sun. And what that is I have all the starting units in here and all the admin counters. And then for the other one,
reinforcements in the different.
this is a reinforcement schedule. So this is turn 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, all the way down through the turns, and then there's like the last 3 turns when no one comes on. They're all crammed in one well.
Yeah.
But that is a very efficient way, if you're going to play the campaign game, to set up and store yours when you're punching them. They've got the turns printed on the counters.
Yep.
You just punch them into the wells.
Yep.
So when you're setting up the campaign, you just have the setup units, put them all in a big line on the west wall, and everything else you just get out the well at the beginning of every turn done.
Yeah.
It's but all of that fits all in this little 2-inch box. There is so much game in here. It's kind of crazy. And it's just solid. It's just good. It's everything that you would expect from it. And it's very easy to see why it's just been around for over 20 years now.
Well, and as far as board game porn, right? The pictures that I was taking tonight are just stunning.
It's a great game to look at and play with.
The map is amazing. The colors work very well together. The counter colors in this one, as opposed to the trouble we had with Ardennes 2,
yes,
I felt like those really blended in.
Ardennes blended in real bad.
These don't blend in that bad, I don't think.
It's not as bad. It's still not my favorite.
It's green on green.
Yeah, but it's this much brighter GMT green.
Yep.
It's easier.
I just think this is a beautiful game, and I'm really enjoying the heck out of playing it.
Yes.
For sure.
So, yeah, I mean, Ardennes 44 is something that you should definitely check out. But we might even have another chat about this later once you play more of this as
there's
well.
no doubt.
But I'm really glad that our, like, event or our plans are, like, bearing some fruit where, like, this would have sat languishing on the shelf for a long time, probably forever. And now it's like, hey, we got it played. And I just had a really good time with this. And
well, we got it played, but we only played, 3 full turns.
No, but it's...
But yeah, at least we've now experienced it and learned from it and really enjoyed it. So it makes me want to play it more.
Yes, absolutely. So Ardennes 44, Battle of the Bulge. Check this out if this is something you're interested in. And you should definitely be interested in this, and you should definitely check it out, give it a go.
100%.
From GMT Games, appreciate you tuning in. I'm Alexander from theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.